So guys, we decided to do this before the actual series because, you know, it makes sense. We decided that we should show off what mods we have and give credit to the authors of those mods. Um, so over here, she's going to explain all of this because she put the mods in and made it all work. Here you go.
Alright, the first thing I want to mention is that modding is really intimidating when you first look at it, and there are a few different programs that you really need to make it work properly, and this is not going to be a video about modding, because that's really complicated and takes a long time. So, instead, I'm just going to tell you that I use Rybrash, TES5 Edit, SKASE, which is Skyrim script extender, and Nexus Mod Manager to handle my mods. And I get most of my mods through Nexus Mods. So we have several player homes that have been added in and additional systems that affect player homes, including a bookshelf script. And what the bookshelf script does is it makes it so that you can stack your books closely together on the bookshelves instead of having them fall all over the place and not fill the shelf. I have Breeze Home Fully Upgradable, which is a extended version of the Breeze Home house that you get in the game. I've got More Plants and Recipes for Hearthfire, and that one's kind of obvious. And I've got a player home called Silverfish Grotto, which is a really nice extensive player mod inside of a cave grotto. I've added Willow's 101 Bugs HD, which adds additional butterflies and moths and torch bugs and things like that to the game, which also includes a whole bunch of new alchemy recipes. I've got farm animals because it only makes sense that they would have more than just cows and horses and chickens. I've got improved fish, so that you have more than just 3 or 4 different kinds of fish in the game, especially a whole bunch of really nicely made fish that you can get fillets from in addition to the salmon, and they come with additional recipes too. I've got Pets of Skyrim, which adds additional cats and dogs, and to be honest, they don't look the greatest, but Skyrim really needed some pet cats. I've got Skyrim Immersive Creatures, and this is a very important mod. Skyrim Immersive Creatures puts baby animals in the game and puts larger groups of animals and makes them behave in ways that are more similar to the way animals would really behave. And that adds a whole lot to the game. So, next section here at audio and bug fixes. I've added Sounds of Skyrim. Now these mods, they have a lot of incompatibilities, and that's true, but I've managed to avoid most of the issues with them, and I think that they are well worth working with. They add a lot to the immersion of the game and make you feel like you're really in there. Bug fixes are really important. There's a lot of vanilla bugs in the game, and some of these things fix those bugs in a way that Bethesda never got around to. Better dialogue controls is a really good one because that cursor doesn't always click where you want it to. And this fixes that problem, so now when you point to something with your pointer in the game, it actually selects that. Clothing and clutter fixes, things that aren't working right, now work. Moonpath to Elsewhere is a mod, and there's an improvement to that I have a bug fix for, and I've got a weapons and armor fixes. I have additional castles, palaces, mansions, and estates mods. I really like my player houses, it's true. Blackthorn is a buildable town in the Rift that you can actually get income from after you buy and rebuild it, and that's a really fun one. Now, in truth, it's very graphics intensive and tends to be a little buggy, so you have to be careful around it, but it's worth having. I have Castle Stonespire, which is just a castle player home. Castle Waldmeyer, which is one of my favorites, which is a vampire castle that is close to Whiterun. And it's multiple adoption friendly. I've got Morskim Estate, which is an extensive player home that is located in Dawnstar. I've got the Evil Mansion, which is a player home that is a very extensive dungeon type mod that's based after the game Resident Evil. And that's a whole lot of fun, and it's probably the most nervous you'll ever be playing Skyrim. Wyvern Rock Castle is also another player home mod that's in there, and that has some kind of link to the Archmage quests, and frankly, I haven't been there yet, so I don't know.
Wyvern Rock, really, the only connection it has to the Archmage is if you want the place for free. Otherwise, it costs a lot of money.
Okay, so cheats and god items. The biggest cheat item in the entire game is called the Leveler's Tower, and it lets you do pretty much anything. The reason I use it is because I've played this game many times, and I like to skip over some of the beginning stuff and just get started. And the Leveler's Tower lets me get rid of some of the annoying grinding things in the game that I personally don't think are as much fun. And as long as you don't overdo it, you can still have a lot of fun with the game without completely nerfing the entire thing. Cities, towns, villages, and hamlets, I've got the Forgotten City. That's a really fun mod. And under clothing, I have Cloaks of Skyrim. Also for Dawnguard. And that adds cloaks and capes and hoods to the game, which people will put on when they're outside and take off when they're indoors. And these items are enchantable, which gives you another article of clothing you can wear and put enchantments on. So that's very useful, and it also makes a lot of sense. I have the My Home is Your Home mod for followers, so I can tell my followers to be at home in any of my player houses, and they will return there when they're not following me. And I can have about as many followers as I want, really. I've got Moonshimmer Mine Dungeon that I've added to the game. Gameplay effects and changes, I have added Achieve That, which means that when you achieve certain goals in the game, you can go into the mod and it will give you points that you can put toward various things like carry weight or speed or an additional ability or something like that, so that you get rewards for doing things in the game. I have Hearthfire Multiple Adoptions, which allows you to adopt up to 6 children instead of only 2. I have Multiple Floors Sandboxing, which allows people in player houses and such, the NPCs can walk from one floor to another instead of just staying all on one floor all the time. I have Run for Your Lives, which is a very important mod that makes all of the townspeople run inside when there's a dragon attack so that you don't wind up with a dead blacksmith all the time. I have the Stones of Baranziah quest markers because those things are really hard to find. I've got Triple Wallets, which allows the shopkeepers to hold a lot more money than they normally do because it's really annoying to have to go to 6 different towns just to sell off all your stuff. And I have the When Vampires Attack mod, which does the same thing as Run for Your Lives, except all the townspeople run inside when there's a vampire attack, so you don't have your quest mobs and shopkeepers getting killed. I have hair and face bottles, high resolution beards, Eyes of Beauty, for NPCs and for players. I've got guard dialogue overhauls, so that the guards say a lot more things than they normally do in the vanilla game, and they also say things that are related to the things that you've done in the game. I've got the Wet and Cold mod, which allows for snow effects to build up on your cloaks and your clothing, and things that are wet actually look wet, things that are snowy actually look snowy, etc. I've got Dova Cooking Recipes expansion, because the normal cooking recipes, let's face it, they were thrown as an afterthought, and it's as if they never gave it any consideration as to what people would want. They were too rushed, and they didn't put enough stuff in. Potions take the place of cooking, and nobody uses cooking in the vanilla game because it isn't worth it. Well, this makes it worth it. Now, I've added a whole lot of new models and textures. because Skyrim was a little lower resolution than our computers can handle these days. I've got a Midian-born ebony armor in black. I've got the steel armor as well. I've got Baranzaya's Glory, which improves the Baranzaya gems. I've got Bellyache's HD Dragon Replacer Pack, which improves the dragon's resolution. I've got book covers of Skyrim, which makes the book covers look really nice and unique for all the different books in the game. I've got cover Khajiits for male and female, which makes the Khajiits look more realistic. I've got Dark Brother tenets restored, because when you go up and see the Dark Brother tenets in the Dark Brotherhood, you can't read them in the vanilla game. Well, now you can. I have detailed rugs, which improves the appearance of the rugs, fences of Skyrim, finer dust instead of giant particles raining from the ceiling, HD furniture and barrels, HD horkers so that the horkers look more realistic, HD soul gems, they look really nice now, high quality paper, hybrids HD plants and herbs retexture so that the flowers actually look like flowers instead of little fuzzy bundles, Jewels of the Nord HD rings and necklaces, silly level of detail potions and poisons for ceramic style potions and poisons, silly level of detail wine cellars, the less saturated labels version, Skyrim HD 2D textures, complete, full, stunning statues of Skyrim, and I've put them all in so the statues look a lot more realistic and well done, and a Vampire Lord retexture because he just wasn't all that scary. I've got some new lands added, and some of these mods are very extensive. I have Dark End, Falskar, which is one of the more famous expansion-sized mods that have been created for the game. Somerset Isle, which is a really huge expansion, and Worm's Tooth. I've added 2 NPCs to the game, a Khajiit child called Maisha, and my little hatching Ramku, an Argonian boy, because, well, you can adopt them, and because there aren't any Khajiit or Argonian children in the game anywhere else.
Only Nords.
Only Nord children. I've added some overhauls, and my absolute favorite of the overhauls is Better Vampires, because the vampire system for Skyrim was frankly inferior to the vampire system for Oblivion, and backward for some reason, and this makes it a lot better. Climates of Tamriel weather, lighting, audio, Dragonborn and Dawnguard patches, and Project Reality Climates of Tamriel really improves the sky and the weather and the immersion of the game. It makes it look absolutely beautiful. And I have the RS Children overhaul, so Skyrim's children no longer look all alike and weird. I've got patches here. These patches are important for compatibility with some of the different mods. Falskar Climates of Tamriel, Falskar Pure Waters patch, Leveler's Tower patch, Sky Test Integration Project for Immersive Creatures, Sky Test Integration Project USKP, Somerset Isle patches, Somerset Isle Climates of Tamriel patch, Somerset Isle Rideable World Spaces patch, Typo patch for Moonpath to Elsewhere, the unofficial Dawnguard patch, the unofficial Dragonborn patch, the unofficial Hearthfire patch, the unofficial High Resolution patch, and the unofficial Skyrim patch, and all of those things vastly improve gameplay and correct bugs from the vanilla game. Quests and adventures I've added are Moonpath to Elsewhere, which is a little bit disappointing in how interesting it is, but at the same time it's very beautiful in a very different landscape from the one in Skyrim. And Dark Brotherhood Resurrection, which allows you to continue Dark Brotherhood quests after you've completed the primary ones. I've got some user interfaces added, a quality world map and Solstheim map with roads. It's important to understand that a quality world map does have some issues. You absolutely must look up and change some information in your INI file in order to make this map work without crashing your game when you leave houses. It's a major problem with this map. I'm not entirely sure why, but this mod will crash your game when you leave houses if you don't change a few small lines in an INI file somewhere. I don't remember which one, but it's easy to look up. So you can prevent that problem. I have Sky UI, which is an extended UI that makes it a lot easier to organize your stuff. And Unread Books Glow, so that you don't lose track of what you've looked at and collected and what you haven't. For utilities, I have TES5 Edit, which is a very important one for cleaning up certain mods before you install them, and cleaning up the vanilla files before you do modding, which is absolutely necessary. Visuals and graphics, I have Better Embers, I have Pure Waters, Legendary, and I have Pure Waters Waterfalls, which is absolutely incredible. The water is incredibly realistic, and I highly recommend those mods. So that's it for the primary mods that I have installed in the game. All of these things are put together in the correct order. I've used Rybash, and it is absolutely necessary to use Rybash to install these correctly. And, well, happy modding. This is what we're playing.
Yep. So, see you guys tomorrow for our first Skyrim video. We'll have a second series as well going on. Just different thing. So, bye!